Hello and welcome to Africa Today. I am Esther Mokwariola. For a continent set to be growing and struggling at the same time, Africa is a complex mix where law and order is often on a collision course with acts of lawlessness. From criminal minds to armed gangs, mere suspects and serial offenders, the role of the police in society can't be overstated. Just the days when many refer to them as friends are fast fading. And so we ask, what are your thoughts on the activities of the police in Africa amidst a growing calls for reform, especially in Nigeria? You can join the conversation and share your thoughts with us on Twitter at TVC News NG. We take a report now, and Africa Today will continue. Welcome on board.
Adebayo Abayomi joined the End SARS campaign, hoping to find closure after his mother was killed by the stray bullet from the rifle of a policeman attached to the Special Anti-Robbery Squad. He still seeks justice.
On that fateful night, I had to tweet at the police complaint online, tweeted at Governor, that's Lagos State Governor, tweeted at the Nigerian Police Force. As I'm talking to you till now, no single reply, respond, or even retweet from them. So I've been looking for this great opportunity to let my voice be heard. That's why I'm joining this house. For over 8 months, nothing has been done. They cannot revive my mom, that's very, very sure. But at least Nigerian police should admit they are the one that committed the crime and meet with the family and see how they can relieve the family.
Adebayo's story resonates in the conversation of many Nigerians. An encounter with the Special Anti-Robbery Squad usually turns into an unpleasant ordeal. The squad is accused of extrajudicial killings, making indiscriminate arrests, extortions, and gross violation of human rights.
These people now do not understand their role anymore, and they have overstayed what they are doing, their relevance in this society, and that's why people are coming out today to say that let's end this unit of the police. Because when you have a SARS officer doing the work of an FRSC, you have a SARS officer doing the work of an NDLEA, you have a SARS officer doing the work of an EFCC officer. So in fact, I would not be surprised if by tomorrow these people start intervening in marital issues.
The police are majorly extorting the common people, just like the SARS are harassing and molesting the common people. So saying they would they have had some positive feats in the society, yes, but their negativity is higher, way higher than positive.
The Nigerian police is rated the worst in the world, according to the World Internal Security and Police Index. Maybe this End SARS campaign may just be the catalyst to reform the police force and give justice to Adebayo Abayomi and other victims of police brutality.
Well, before we get into the discussion of today, let's update you on some of the top news stories around Africa. The government of the DR Congo has issued an international arrest warrant for opposition leader Moise Katumbi on exile since 2016. Malian President Ibrahim Boubacar Keïta has been re-elected for a 5-year term after winning in a runoff ballot by 67%. President Harry Ramaphosa of Madagascar says he will seek a re-election in November. And the Nigerian journalist Samuel Ogundipe, detained by the police since Tuesday, has been released. And now joining me on Africa Today to look at police activities, I have Oke Nwaguma, National Coordinator, Next Work on Police Reform in Nigeria. I also have Dr. Kasim Akinreti, Chairman, Nigerian Union of Journalists, Lagos State. Good to have you gentlemen on the program.
It's nice to be here. It's my pleasure to be here.
Now, let me begin with you now, okay? Before now, we used to know the Nigerian police to have some issues with regards to, treatment of citizens in the country, and particular issue is the SARS, that the Special Anti-Robbery Squad. And so much complaints had been made about this group. And then the Vice President came out to say that this group needs to be overhauled. And part of the overhaulage it was seeking, the Inspector General, appointed a new Commissioner of Police. And also there is a a change of name to FSARS and other, reforms, so to speak. But some are saying that this reform undertaken by the Inspector General, is it far-reaching to answer to the issues that Nigerians have been clamoring that this police needs to be totally overhauled?
Well, thank you. In the first place, I want to start by saying that the directive by the acting president, Professor Sibajo, on the IG to reform SARS, and for the National Human Rights Commission to undertake investigations on numerous allegations of human rights violation against SARS is a welcome development, even though belated.
Right.
It's simply, we had expected that government would respond to the, groundswell of public outrage over the atrocities, human rights atrocities committed by SARS. But having said that, I want to say that SARS is a reflection of what is wrong with the Nigerian police.
And what is that?
SARS is a reflection of the prevailing culture of violence, of lawlessness, and of leadership ineptitude in the Nigerian police. And so we can't be talking just about reforming SARS. We should be talking about reforming the Nigerian police force. Because the Nigerian police force has not changed from what it was as a colonial police, founded on violence and repression. Several, and for me, there are several areas that require reform. People have talked about changing the culture. People have talked about reviewing the recruitment process that allows for misfits to find their way into the police force. And so today in the police force, you have people who are untrainable, because the process has been, completely messed up. And if you recall, sometime in 2001, then President Obasanjo, because under military rule there was no police recruitment.
Okay.
So by 1999, we had roughly about 120,000 police officers. So to make up for the shortfall, the president ordered for a massive recruitment drive. The police was to recruit 40,000 in a year for a period of 5 years. But after the first recruitment, the president ordered a moratorium. And when they did an audit, and I'm quoting President Obasanjo, he said, criminals, that the recruitment process was so compromised that criminals found their way into the Nigerian police. So you find people who come into the police not as a career, but as a means to, to come and, use the instrument of the authority to repress the same people who they are, and so.
Are meant to protect.
Yeah. So if you even talk about the, leadership appointments, can't we have a leadership appointment procedure that will ensure that the best brain, the best hands are appointed into the leadership of the Nigerian police? But I'm going to go into that detail.
Yeah, we'll go into that in detail. But let me quickly come to you now, Mr. Kasim. It's pertinent to know that you're also the leader, a union leader of the Nigerian Union of Journalists. But when the report of Samuel Ogundipe reached your hearing, I presume it wasn't very, very tasteful. Now he's been released, and some are saying that this begs the question of what is the right of an average journalist in Nigeria today?
Well, thank you so much. Basically, if you look at Nigerian police, three things are missing. Trust, respect, and of course a safer community or a safer environment. Trust in the sense that whatever happens, the blame game will always be there. Respect in terms of courtesy they are going to give to people, not really journalists, but actually every professional. Nigerians are complaining. You could see your report on SARS and the issue of policing. And the other one is that why do we need to have a police? It's because we want to have a safer environment, a safer community. That is the basis, that is the philosophy of policing all over the world. For us, journalists and the police, it's a cat and mouse game because the Nigerian police has refused to really understand the basic ethics and ethos of journalism. And this is not the first time. You know, even under the military in 1984, we had some of our colleagues that had to go to jail, Mrs. Sindu Kairabo and Tunde Thompson, because of the fact that they cannot disclose the source of their story. I think between now and then, the police will have understand the basic culture of journalism practice. Nowhere in the world, this is a global practice. You can't disclose your source, even though at the point of death. So for the Nigerian police in the 21st century, this era, not to understand that, and use that as a basis to vilify Ogundipe, I think it marks of a little bit of, basic understanding of what the profession is all about. But I keep saying, that is why, for us as a union, we have taken a step forward to see how we can, ensure that this relationship, endure between understanding the nature of our job. We've created a security committee in which we are inviting not only Nigerian police, but all the security apparatus to be a member so that you can understand how we work. And when you're at our meetings, when we discuss, so you can keep along with it. But you see, the police force, the security services had a public relations department, which to me is usually manned by professionals, people that have trained as a journalist or mass communicators who should know and tell their bosses that, look here, these are the basics, these are the code of conduct of, journalists or media practitioners. And so that's, once you understand that, you're able to, and your boss also understand that. I think there won't be this lack of this understanding of what you have. What they try to do is every day to cook up and look at some other colonial or archaic, charges to see how they can just put everything together. But there's no way it can fly, because it just brings Nigeria into public opinion.
Right,
and people get to know that what are we, those who understand, the essence of policing at all.
Right, let's go on a quick break. You're watching Africa Today, and we're looking at the activities of police in Africa amidst growing calls for reform, especially in Nigeria. In the last few days, the conversation to reform the Nigerian police has grown louder, inspiring an executive directive of the immediate overhauling of the Special Anti-Robbery Unit of the force. The National Economic Council have also set up a committee to decentralize police operations in Nigeria and the deployment of police security and the civil defense corps to liberated areas by the army in the northern part of the country. So, okay, surely from what we know, from what you said earlier on, the reform is a step, it's a step towards a better police, so to speak. But from the analysis given, clearly it seems like there isn't so much will to reform the police.
There is a complete lack of commitment on the part of political leadership. What we see is more of rhetorical commitment than concrete, because if you check between 1999 and to date, successive administrations from Obasanjo to Yar'Adua to Jonathan have set up, every administration comes up and sets up a presidential committee to transform the Nigerian police.
Right.
Committees will go around the country, collect memoranda, public input, come up with beautiful, reports, and then nothing happens. The next administration comes, it sets up another committee without going back to the report of the, and these reports contain far-reaching recommendations that if implemented, we are going to move away from where we are. So setting up police reform committees by government becomes an avenue by which government not only evades responsibility, but also wastes public resources. Now, what are some of these reforms? It may surprise you to know that both the Constitution and the Police Act. And by the way, the Police Act we're talking about is a colonial law, 1943. That is the law that the Nigerian police is being regulated and organized by a 1943 colonial law. The only amendment to that law was under military when they centralized the police. You know, before that we had regional, police. So, so the only amendment. So this is the law that has been. In 1994, civil society in Nigeria proposed a bill to amend this act, and it has been pending before the parliament till date, until recently when the Senate started, this whole
thing. I agree. All this sound rhetorics on paper, because you're talking about laws, you're talking about these are the laws that should be reformed so that we can have, a decent police force. Am I correct? But they are human beings who are manning this force. And these human beings are prone to, to doing things that are unspeakable. For instance, they say the society get the police that they, that they see. So how can we be able to, draw the line between, the law and the people who are going to man or who are going to implement this law, so they don't end up, becoming a problem at the end of the day, because it's two things altogether.
No, see, what we find is that, Nigeria at independence inherited, the institutions and culture of the colonial police. So the violence that you see, the lawlessness that you see, for instance, police going to invade the National Assembly, that type of lawlessness is part of what Nigeria inherited from colonial rule. And because politicians want to retain the police in the same form it is, so that they can use them to serve their partisan interest, they don't want to, carry out fundamental reforms, for instance, that will insulate the police from political control.
Right.
And that was the point I was trying to make about the Constitution and the Police Act, which both centralize policy and operational control of the police in the president, whereas in other climes, the Inspector General of Police ought to be in charge of operational control, because he is the professional. And then the person appointed as Inspector General of Police must have operational autonomy to be able to, refuse, to pander to any partisan interest. His loyalty should not be to the president who appoints and can fire him. His loyalty should be to multiple constituencies, including the law, and the people through the elected representatives. Right. But what we have today is that the loyalty of the Inspector General of Police is to the president, because he does not want to incur the wrath of the president. And that's why the president can send him to go and do something wrong, and he goes to do that. So unless we change that, and then change this, because this culture is also, founded in law. Unless we change this law, and then also there are a lot of recommendations if you look at this.
So the law is key if we're talking about addressing police reforms.
Certainly.
Now, Dr. Kasim, journalists, are still on the front line of, you talk about harassment from the police when you have stories, and it seems to be, according to the police, a breach of security from what they alleged on Samuel Ogundikwe. Now, how can we, or where do we know a story is in breach of security and a story that needs to be told, as our duty as a fourth estate of the realm?
Well, everything boils down to lack of understanding of the operations of a journalist. I mean, a journalist will not argue with a policeman about his own operations. But when you talk to our own, they will try to see that they want to question what we are doing. We have a global practice, a global standard that we do as a journalist. But of course, people don't know that there's something we call a scoop. In fact, the issue was just laughable. The charges against Ogundikwe, and saying that probably it's a security risk to the country. That story he did was not quite appropriate. But the point you need to ask the Nigerian police is that are they do sure that it could not be one of them that actually gave that particular story to Ogundikwe? But that is just begging the issue. What is important is how you're going to report a good story, and people will appreciate it. Facts to journalists are free, and facts are sacred, and comments are free. You have the facts. Let them dispute that it's not a fact. They can't do that. That's real. And what has also done is also to have what they call a safer community, because immediately that story came, there was also it lags on the part of people to get to know what really precipitated, the actions of the State Security Service to invade the National Assembly. And for us, as a journalist, we have done well to calm down the nerves so people understand where the thing is coming from. It's also helped the presidency themselves so that people started drop this aspersion that, it's from the presidency, they got the higher authority before they do what they did. So for us as journalists, we have played our role creditably well. I think at that point in time, the police should also be happy that Nigerian journalists have done a very good work for them. And the presidency also do that. And that's one reason why the NUJ issued a statement and sent a letter personally to the acting president to look at what is happening and then act appropriately. And obviously, the global journalism organization across the world also saying that, look, what we have done in Nigeria is extremely laughable. And for us as journalists, we can't take that. Once you understand the way we work, we also understand the way you also work. And I think that thing we are going to work well and then ensure that we have a safer community, a united Nigeria.
Right.
One thing is also need to know that
okay.
We are not a unitary system. We are not operating a unitary system of government. We are really a federal system of government.
Right.
And so the issue of reforming the Nigerian police, we are begging the matter. And one way or the other, we are coming back through the back door to embrace state police. Decentralization, look at what happened. The Lagos State template is good enough for us. The Nigerian police is working on their own. You also have the neighborhood what's also happening. They are not complementing themselves. In the US, you have the federal police. You also have, the county police. You also have the same thing in London. And over the years, we have been seeing the Nigerian police force going abroad to understudy community policing. And so the problem with us is not about the political will to push through. And so let us keep getting people together, getting white papers together on the police reform. What's important is when are we ready to take the bull by the horn? We have enough of reforms, papers are going to just on this policing. Let's just have the will to say, yes, today we are starting it. And for me, I keep saying that the country we are under-policed, we have less than 400,000 policemen to about almost 180. And the target you should have is about a million police force. And of course, another thing I would also like us to look at is that I'm looking at the Nigerian police in the next 5 years, when we are having the crop of people that will graduate from the police university in Wudi Kano.
Right.
I think that can change the narrative in terms of trust,
right,
and then in terms of respect and a safer community from the police.
Right,
policing.
point taken there. But in a nutshell, now, what is the NUJ doing, with regards to the safety of the journalist when undergoing his or her duty, so that no journalist gets to be harassed or intimidated by the police, for instance?
The first thing for us to engage them, which we are doing now, and the other thing we are doing is also tell our own people about their own safety and their own security. And the last one is about providing insurance cover for them, that in case of any untoward accidents while you are doing your job, this is exactly what they are going to do.
Right.
Journalists are courageous people, just like policemen. So we must work together and understand our role better.
Right, that's good. That's to leave it there. But let's quickly come to you now, take it home now. Okay. From all that he said, definitely the government has a lot of role to play so that we can have a saner society where the police get to work with journalists so they get to, work for the purpose of which it is being created for. But to bring it home now, where do you see this leading to? Do you think we can get a credible police in any time soon? Because, we're talking about reforms like, what was earlier stated, and also decentralization of the Nigerian police. Do you think that Nigeria is heading towards the point where it will have a credible police system?
Well, the decision by the Federal Executive Council to decentralize, for me, it's a response in response to the same problems over the time. But right, my concern here would be the composition of the people that will, that will address this question, because this is not the first time we're having committees set up. I hope this is not another, opportunity to provide job for loyalists. If the government is serious about decentralizing, I think there's need to be cooperation between both the executive and the legislature, and then civil society, because there are people who are experts in these areas who should be brought together to, you know, brainstorm and come up with, you know, a workable and rational, you know, plan, you know, to push it through. But of course, what it means is that everybody seems to agree that there's need for some sort of decentralization, because we cannot continue. The major challenge of policing efficiency in Nigeria is its highly centralized structure. We can't have a one-size-fits-all police in a country of...
In other words, it was decentralized and House also clamor for state police.
Yes, but the right people must be charged to take on this responsibility. Let it not just be another political means of settling, you know, loyalty. And I think that the president must take the Inspector General of Police to task on some of these excesses. For instance, the ordeal that you know, that Ogunjobi has been made to go through, that cannot happen.
Right, absolutely. I agree.
The police are so efficient in arresting journalists and taking them to court. The offer robbery suspects, one of them who is said to be in possession of the process of crime, is nowhere to be found.
All right,
so the IG must be asked to explain the whereabouts of this man.
Yeah, point taken. Thank you very much, Okechukwu Nwagbuna, for your time on Africa Today, and also Dr. Kasim Akinreti. We appreciate your contributions on Africa Today. One of the main issues that have held Africa back as a continent includes abuse of power, human rights violations, and the desecration of public institutions. Unfortunately, the police have been found culpable in recent times. Well, no doubt, effective reform will do the police a lot of good. But part of the responsibility also lies on individuals becoming the kind of nation they want to see, bearing in mind that every institution is a reflection of society. And that is our package for tonight. But don't forget to join the conversation as usual on Twitter at TVC News NG, and follow me for updates around Africa at Esther TVC News. Until the next one again, I am Esther Mokwariola, and always remember, Africa can only get better.